When the game gets rough and this life just seems so tough, make we talk. When this town becomes an ugly place, don't let it erase the smile.
You're in tune to Roots FM 96.1 on the FM band. It's now time for We Talk Tuesdays with Jeffrey Tavares.
Good morning. We're listening from around the world and the Eastern Caribbean. This is We Talk on Roots 96.1 FM and the We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. It is 5 minutes after 11 o'clock in Kingston, Jamaica. We're going to speak about what happened to the Donna-lee Donaldson's case, the JCF Expo 2023. This morning, I'm going to have with me my good friend and brother Wilfred Rattigan, retired FBI agent, attorney at law. He'll be coming on with me this morning. He's having a good technical difficulties, but he'll be on. I'm seeing this morning where the government of Jamaica has issued curfew. Again, the government has imposed a state of public emergency in St. James, Hanover, and Clarendon. You know, we must ask the question, is this thing really solving the crime pandemic in our country? Where they keep on giving us this zo, ne, zi, za, zu, zan, that kind of zone. Is it solving the crime pandemic that we face in our country? Is it stopping the illegal guns coming in the country? That's the question we must ask ourselves and ask them. Somebody's benefiting from these zozos that they're having. Because there's absolutely no way. You can have public state of emergency, have a public state of emergency. It has to stop somewhere. And is it that when they draft the new constitution, is it, are you gonna say at the top of the constitution, we can have public state of emergency to solve crime in Jamaica? Is it gonna be a part of the whole constitution of this beloved country of ours? Huh? I have my good friend joining me now, Wilfred Ratigan. Good morning, Mr. Rattigan. Welcome to We Talk. I know you're getting yourself prepared there.
Yeah, morning. How are you? Greetings.
I'm good. I can hardly hear. Put the mic up more to your that Waterhouse can hear you.
Yeah, morning. Greetings to you and your listening audience.
Greetings, my brother. Greetings. You got it solved, man. You got it fixed.
Yeah, finally. You know.
Thank God. I see wherein our government has imposed another public state of emergency again. Rattigan in Mr. Rattigan in 3 parishes.
Yeah, that's worth noting because I have people over here, even this morning, here in the diaspora, who reached out to me and said, "Hey, did you see this?" And what I didn't see it in the local news. What I did see was I saw where they were talking about the record number of tourists coming into Jamaica, but a lot of those are stopovers. They're not really people. You have to look at how they count it. They're not people who flew into Jamaica, stayed in Jamaica, and left Jamaica. A lot of them, they're cruise ship people.
Yes.
And they just count them. They come in and they stop for a few hours and they count them. And so it's an aggregate of all the numbers of people coming in via cruise ships for a few hours or maybe an overnight, and also people come in and stay at the resort. And then people who come in and diaspora members who come in and stay with family members. So it's an aggregate of a whole bunch of groups of people. But that's what they've been advertising. They haven't been advertising this this what do you call it? Travel advisory put out by
Right.
by the U.S. government. They haven't put that out, so you know.
But Mr. Rattigan, not we're drifting from what we're supposed to speak about. But my good friend Donna-lee Donaldson, who's a senior journalist for Roots FM, always says, how is it that America has so much mass shooting, and yet they're putting travel advisory in other countries? But the countries that don't have mass shooting, they're putting in the travel advisory in America.
Yeah, we're your good friend, our good friend Dudley. What you should understand is that you have to look at the homicide rate. And the homicide rate in Jamaica is in the 40s, 40 something per 100,000. In America, I think it's still single digit. I think it's like, I don't know, 9 per 100,000. So you have to look at it in its context and you say, okay, they're doing mass shootings. But am I going to be involved in those mass shootings? And ask, and people, I went to the mall this past weekend and the thought never crossed my mind. Ask people if they feel safe here. And by and large, they'll tell you, yes, they feel safe in America, despite the mass shootings. Ask them if they feel safe in Jamaica. And despite the fact that we have thousands of people running away from Jamaica now, so the crime rate is going to go down, right? And we're not trying to take away anything from the JCF regarding their crime fighting measures and techniques. But the fact of the matter is that you have thousands of people leaving, some of whom could potentially be victims and perpetrators, yes. And they're gone. And the crime rate is still high. So I don't worry about when people say, well, you know, the crime rate in America is high, because my argument is that, look, the people in Jamaica don't live in America. The people in Jamaica, they worry about the crime that's going on in Jamaica. And so if the idea is you're going to tell people, well, look, they're killing people in America, so you shouldn't feel too bad if they do killings here. I don't think that's a message we want to convey. And in my discussions, I don't care about what happens in other parts of the world. I am talking about Jamaica. If that is the case, why stop there? Why not go to a place like South Africa where the crime rate is it's 30 something, almost 40 per 100,000? Why not compare Jamaica to South Africa? You know, that would be apples and close to apples, big apple, small apple, because the population of South Africa is about 55 million.
Yes.
In America, it's about 300 million. Yeah, in Jamaica, it's 3 million. Right, and the crime rate is higher in Jamaica than it is. The murder rate is higher in Jamaica than it is in America. I'm not trying to say that they don't have mass shootings here, because that's unquestionable. I mean, they have mass shootings here. What I'm saying is that don't try compare America to Jamaica and then say that, well, because I don't know what the point is. Are you saying then that we shouldn't talk about it, or people shouldn't feel unsafe because they have mass murders being committed elsewhere? I'm not sure what the point is. Maybe we should ask Dudley what he means by that.
Maybe, sorry about that. Sorry. Maybe we should ask Dudley to come on and tell us what he means by that. Indeed.
Yeah, call him on.
Dudley, if you're hearing us, Mr. Thompson, are you in studio? Come on and explain to Mr. Rattigan what you mean by that. You know? Mr. Rattigan, over the weekend, or over a 3-day period, the Jamaica Constabulary Force has an expo, and they show off all their apparatus and their ragarakos and akanarakos, and they have all these equipment. They said they can solve crime. They can get people to come to justice or whatever. How is it that the Donna-lee Donaldson's case is dragging out so long? Yet the JCF showed the people of Jamaica over the weekend, now over a 3-day period, what they have: Cyber team and Disia team and Nira team and Zozo team and Dr. Harris Chang team and the team of the Commissioner of Police. And they say how the JCF gone digital. How is it that the Donna-lee Donaldson case is being dragged on so long, Mr. Rattigan? Have you asked yourself the question, answer?
I've asked myself the question, and I don't think there's any answer, because Donna-lee is just one case, right? That is just one case that is has gone underground, so to speak. Nobody knows what's going on with it. It seemed like it was an open and shut case at the time. We don't know what happened. We know that the policeman is still in, he hasn't gotten bail. He's still in jail. And
That's what they said. We don't know if he's in jail.
Yeah, and beyond that, we don't know much about what's going on. But I mean, there's so many cases you could point to. You could point to they killed some British people, and we haven't heard
residents.
Yeah, and we haven't heard anything about the perpetrators of those crimes, if they've been caught or not. We know that they caught some, I think it was Hungarians or Romanians down by 3 miles. We haven't heard anything about that case, a cyber case. They caught some Chinese nationals up in Cherry Gardens. We haven't heard anything about that case. The plane that flew and crash landed in for the coast of Jamaica there, of a Clarendon, we haven't heard anything about that case. We haven't heard anything about a lot of cases. So if you start going back to her case, then you might as well go back to all the cases, and then we could ask the comprehensive question as to what's going on with these cold cases, if you want to call them cold cases, right? What's going on with these cases, and get an answer. But I guarantee, look, the Mr. Bailey,
Fitz Bailey,
yeah, he mentioned that the cocaine case over in St. Mary at the airport, that they were on the verge of arresting people. This was more than a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, and we haven't heard anything more. So, there's just a lot going on that we haven't heard. So the idea that you're going to put up smoke and mirrors, in the arena, I think the arena is where it was held.
Yes,
put up smoke and mirrors. Arena, yes. Yeah, and then you run it from Thursday to Sunday. I'm not impressed. Not impressed.
There is a video that I want to play.
Yeah.
That I find it very amusing. How many times you hear about a hostage situation in Jamaica? The only time I heard about somebody being held hostage in this country is when Bruce Golding was in power, and a mentally sick individual went in a Canadian airline at the Sanchez International Airport. When former Canadian Prime Minister was in Jamaica, Brian Mulroney, I think his name was, yes. And the young man went onto the plane and decided that he wants to fly to Canada. I think he had a gun in him, I don't remember. And that's the only time I heard about some hostage situation. It was all over the news, in America and all over. And now they're having a thing at the JCF Expo where they said that, man dropped down from the roof coming down in the expo with a helicopter, the baga overhead. And when he dropped, he can't pull the rope off a loop. I'm trying to figure out something here. You know what? I can shut my mouth and play the video.
Yeah. Play the video.
Please, I can shut my mouth and play this video. Because I am trying to figure out why are they having this. Anyway, Jeffrey, shut him out and play the video. The sound soon come up. Uh-oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, please turn your attention to the main stage.
Police emergency specialized operation. Police emergency specialized operation.
Go ahead, police emergency responding.
Note the negotiator in the case of abduction has exhausted all possible means. As a result, we're calling for support. I repeat, we're calling for support.
Noted, specialized operations. Support on the way.
We all get the drift of this thing here. Mr. Rattigan, what is your views on all of that, sir?
It's a magic show, man. That's like entertainment. Right away, the man who I think I heard my friend's voice, who called for the support. I think that was Dennis Brooks's voice.
Yes, it was Dennis Brooks.
That was Dennis Brooks's voice. But here's the thing. First thing is, if you have a hostage situation, the support is supposed to be there. You don't call and say all efforts to resolve this has been exhausted. All efforts have been exhausted. And so we're calling for people to react. Everything should be there in place. You don't call. Long time. From the moment you say it's a hostage situation, your resources should be there.
Hostage negotiation, all those things.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, hey, we're calling, send resources, and then the travel come. The hostage dead bad before that happened. This is a nonsense. Then the other thing is, the supposition is that this happened in a building, not a house. Or if it's a house, it's a high-rise house. It's a house with 2 or more floors. Most of the houses in Jamaica, they only have one. It's just one level, right? So when they come through a roof, we don't know how they come through a roof, because most of the roofs in Jamaica, they're from corrugated material like zinc. So they might have to go saw through that. First of all, helicopter will drop them off and then come through the roof. So somebody saw through it and then go straight down. Or them climb up on the roof and saw through it and then go in, which don't make any sense, because the person inside hear all this racket outside. Yeah. And then you see how ill-trained these people are. Them come in and them can't take off the hook off of the guy's belt, right? Then the gentleman, then what they did was they come in and one person took the hostage out, right? Left one person in, right?
With the gentleman.
Right, you're supposed to have at least 2 people inside. And then the handcuffing technique was grossly improper. And then you see some of them coming in and they're covering each other when they come in, like the weapons are pointed at, the back.
Each other.
Yeah, and then They have different uniforms. It was just, you know, the track that they played was apropos. It was perfectly appropriate. Mission impossible. That was impossible what they did right there to rescue our hostage. Just terrible, 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 terrible.
If it was the Federal Bureau of Investigation or say the NYPD, then forget about the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I'm pretty much sure you know what the NYPD does. If it was the NYPD, the New York Police Department, would they have a scenario like that, coming like a scenario like that?
First thing is this. You keep talking to the hostage taker. You don't get to the point where you say, when you get to the point that you say the efforts have been exhausted and whatnot, that means the hostage is going to be shot, the hostage dead. That's what that means.
Right.
So you keep talking the idea of the hostage negotiators. You just keep talking to the person, keep him on the line, keep him or her on the line, keep them talking, keep them talking, keep them talking. And then you set up your strategy as to how, you know, if the person doesn't turn him or herself in, then you figure out, okay, how are we going to go in and get the hostage out alive, right? But this idea that the whole thing was ill-conceived. You never get, whenever you get to the point that you said all efforts are broken down, it means the hostage is dead. That's what it means. Because as long as the hostage is alive and the person is and there's a phone inside there, you keep calling, there are lots of things they could have done. They could have used, they have drones, small drones that they could have even used to get inside the house. They have the stun grenades that they could have used, because once you fire that in, the person, everybody inside is discombobulated. They have no idea what's going on, and then you're going right after. There's so many things they could have done, but to put this on and said this is how we're transformed the JCF. F, failing grade, F.
But a lot of people may say that why they didn't put in certain things in place in the sense of throwing in the stun grenade or whatever is because it's in the public and you don't want the public.
No. But what you can do is remember, no, this is a mock exercise. So you could do that, and there are things that you could do that it would give the effect, but it wouldn't be the stun grenade, but it would give the effect of a stun grenade, right? You could even use a drone. You get the window out, you get the drone inside there, figure out what's going on. And then you have the people outside, so with the battering ram and all these things. The thing coming from the air, that's unrealistic in Jamaica. Very unrealistic.
What they should have done.
What I'm trying to do, why them don't show? Well, we have a lot of killings in Jamaica, and they say it's gang related. They should have done an exercise showing something like that. And the other thing is they didn't have to show it live. They could have recorded the thing and shown it. And then the other thing, when you have people out with guns on stage, one of the first things you want to do, you want to alert the audience and let them know that the weapons, there are no rounds in the weapons, and you want to check to make sure. You want to give the audience that comfort, knowing that, hey, nothing is going to go wrong, because we've seen so many examples of over the years, over the decades, where people thought that the ammunition was a dud and it turned out to be live, right? So you want to let people know that don't be scared. The weapons they're not loaded, period. They're not loaded, and we've checked. You give people that assurance, and then you move on with it. But I wouldn't have done something live. I would have done it taped, and then build it around a story about capturing a scammer, the things that you'd use to capture a scammer or capture a gang leader or something to that effect. But to do a hostage thing and then do it as poorly as they did.
They could have done it live, same with Mr. Rattigan, because the national arena is adjoining to the national stadium, and there's a big lawn. They could have done it live, same way, have the camera set up out there like a house thing, like. And
but still, I wouldn't do a hostage thing coming from ceiling and coming repelling into the house and all this nonsense. I wouldn't be doing something like that. What they should have, forget it, man, because it's a waste of time.
Go ahead, man.
A waste of time with them. These people is just waste of time, because there's so many police, law enforcement agencies out there doing these types of exercises all the time. They could have simply just reached out to any one of these and said, listen, we're planning to do an exposition and we'd like to show something, blah, 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 and just see what they have on the shelf. And then you just recreate that. That's all. You don't want to try and reinvent the wheel. And that's what they were trying to do. Reinvent the wheel, come up with something that they thought was original. But it was an original failure. That's what that was. I'm sure they can do better than this. I am sure if this is the best they can do, then they better hope that people keep leaving Jamaica en masse and run with it, because they're certainly not equipped to fight crime. At least not the type of crime that's being committed in Jamaica. Ask yourself, when was the last time you heard about a hostage situation where they had to use people repelling and I mean
I don't remember about any hostage situation in our country at all. I don't remember hearing about any apart from the plane thing that I spoke earlier about. So I mean, you're correct. What they should have done is just build a scenario around capturing the about capturing the I'm live on air at the moment. Do you have something to say? Hello? Yes, sir. I'm live on air. Yes. All right. I'll call you back then. You want to speak about the discussion? Okay. Let me make you go through Roots FM. Call Roots. Hold on for me. Hold on a minute. Hold on for me. We have lost the call. Can you call Roots FM direct? I'll give you Roots FM number. And you call Roots FM. What's the number for Roots FM again, Mr. Brown? We're live on Roots 96.1 FM. And what's the number for the station again, Mr. Brown? Can you type it in the chat room for me? Anyway, we were speaking about what the JCF had at the Expo, the 2023 Expo. Did you hear the speech given by the Prime Minister, Mr. Rattigan?
Yeah, but I think it's well worth it to play it for the listening audience.
Because I am trying to figure out, the Prime Minister gave a speech that is as if he's giving a throne speech in Parliament.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Jamaica Constabulary Force is Jamaica's only police force. And I never thought about it like that. But it is true. It's our only police force. And truly our first and last line of defense. For that reason, and for that reason only, we must ensure that our JCF succeeds. The JCF is not an imported force. It is not a colonial figment. It is not pulled from persons imported or hired from overseas. The JCF comes from Jamaican communities, from Jamaican people. We make up the JCF. unfortunately, the history has been that we see the force as outside of us. Sometimes we see it as not being a part of us. We have given it all kinds of names. One of them, when I was growing up, I'll never forget, Babylon. And it has carried with us for decades, indeed for close to a century, this impression that our law enforcement, this force to keep us safe, is somehow separate and different from us. Whatever the JCF is, it is a reflection of the Jamaican society.
That
is what you call a pregnant pause.
We're going to take a commercial break on Roots FM.
The points will therefore,
but we will not take a commercial break on Jam Talk Vibes Radio or the Make We Talk YouTube channel. So Roots FM is going to take a commercial break and rejoin us. But we won't take a commercial break here. We're going to continue with our speech by the Prime Minister.
Transformation can happen. Many years ago, I was at a car mart. I was looking at a vehicle. I was then a younger politician. And there was a lady close by with her child. And her child looked up and saw me. And he looked for a while and he said, Mommy, see a politician there? Of course, all the connotations that come with that description. And I walked over to the mother and I rubbed the child's head and I said, no, I'm not.
Mr. Rattigan, we're going to stop that and continue. The PM said, the child said, there is a politician. What does that have? The child saying he bringing that in the whole conversation. That make any sense, sir?
No.
Maybe, I don't know.
No, it doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. I'm gonna share something with the audience here.
Go ahead. Because the speech given by the goodly Prime Minister of this country of ours, he has 8 livelong years to solve Jamaica's crime pandemic. And I see they said that he's trying. But Prime Minister, the Zozo is not working, sir. It is not working. And we need to call a spade a spade. The thing is not working. Mr. Rattigan, you find what you're going to say, sir?
Yeah. He started out by saying that the JCF is the first and the last line of defense. He should be booed off the stage. He's been in politics for years. He's a prime minister. He's a minister of defense. Minister of defense. Not minister of the fence, like what they're behind me.
Right.
He's minister
defense.
Of defense, not the
Yes.
fence, right? And I'm looking at the Jamaica Defense Force, and this looking at their responsibility, and it says to defend Jamaica against military paramilitary threats, to provide military aid to the civil authorities relating to restoration, maintenance of law and order, counter narcotics operations, search and rescue, so on and so forth. So they're there, and as we all know, the maritime sector of section of the JCF, they can only go out to a few miles out at sea.
Okay.
And beyond that,
hold on, Mr. Rattigan. I'm being told I have a call in studio. Go ahead, caller. Hello, caller. Go ahead.
Good morning, Sir Jeffrey.
Good morning, Mr. Finnegan. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well, you know.
We have Wilfred Rattigan, retired FBI agent, attorney at law. You want to speak about the crime pandemic that facing our country?
Yeah, I want to weigh in on that topic this morning. Good morning, Sir Ratigan.
Good morning, sir.
We haven't spoken in a while, and there is two topics that I had asked that I take you up into discussion with as early as possible. However, on the matter of the crime, you see, the information that we have been getting at least over the last 3 years from the Prime Minister, the Minister of National Security, and the Deputy Commissioner of Police, if I'm correct, Fitzbailey?
Yes.
The DCP in charge of crime. They have been giving us some report, at least over the last 2 years, that in my own layman understanding, with the police being equipped with those type of reports, those type of intelligence and information, I strongly believe that they should have been able to put a dent on crime. And the repeatedly report that we have been getting is that they know how many gangs are in this country. They know the location of the gangs. They know how many operatives are in the gangs. Nonetheless, there is no evidence of the dismantling these gangs and bringing these gang members before the court of law. They have repeatedly tell us how many illegal entry points are in Jamaica. Nonetheless, the drugs are still coming in and the illegal guns are still coming in when they have intelligence of over 80 illegal entry points in Jamaica.
Mr. Finnegan, hold on, Mr. Finnegan. For the interest of time, because I only have an hour on routes, if I would have enough time, leave on routes. Could you ask Mr. Rattigan the question you want to ask him that we can elaborate, and maybe you can call back my number and I'll put you on? Go ahead.
Well, the question is, Sir Rattigan, is with the level of intelligence that the police has been reporting that they have, and the report has been coming through the police in charge of crime, Fitzbailey. It is coming from the Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security and the Commissioner of Police himself, repeatedly giving us those same statistics and intelligence. The question is, if these information are correct, why is it that they are not dismantling these gangs, plugging these 80 illegal entry points, and bringing these known criminals to justice, or at least have them be brought before a court of law? That's the question I would like to ask him, since you are short on time.
Yes.
Well, Stephen, again, thank you again for the question. I join you in asking that question of the authorities in Jamaica, and you're absolutely correct. The thing that you forgot to mention was that they stated that they had $1.2 billion to spend since 2016 to 2023 to deal with the crime issue. And given the money, given the information that you just, and by the way, it's not 80 illegal points of entry. They've said it's over 110, I believe.
Why that? By this instead.
Given the information you just imparted, and given the fact that they claim that they had this money to spend on crime, I join you, as well as all well-thinking, well-meaning Jamaicans, in asking your question, which is our question, to the authorities. Why is it that with all the resources, right, and with all of the identification of the issues, why is it that you haven't been able to address the issue in a way that people feel safe and secure, and we know that you're doing you're doing what's in the best interest of the country? Why is it that we haven't seen that? Why? And my answer is a very simple one. It's lack of leadership. That's where it starts. You cannot have leaders who sit behind a desk in an office every day and they don't come out and they don't mingle, they don't get to know people, they don't get to know their troops, they don't get to, you know, they don't do the things that are necessary to ensure confidence in what they're doing. Because you can fail, you know, and people still support you because they're confident that you're confident in what you're doing, and sometimes things just go wrong. But when you have somebody who's not even trying, and you can see that they don't even believe in the things that they're saying. So so that's the main issue for me. There are lots of issues, the main one being leadership. And so we have to rid ourselves of those leaders. Once we rid ourselves of those leaders, and then we start putting good people in place, then we'll be fine. Because look, you can have the best technology in the world. If you don't have the right people to manage that technology, then it's useless. It's pointless. And that's where we are.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Finnegan.
Ratigan. Yeah, just let me quickly point out one other issue to you. For the last 7 years of this administration, there are two crime-fighting methods that they have spoken about again repeatedly. One of the crime-fighting effort is the 7 years of continuous SOEs. And in my own estimation, what I have been seeing the result coming from them is that innocent Jamaicans, citizens of this country, has been continuously being taken up by the police in these SOEs. And have been thrown in jail for over a period of time before they are released without even being charged. The second crime fighting method is one that we have been repeatedly told again, that because of what's the word they use? Whatever the word is, it slipped me now. But what they have been saying is that they can disclose for security reasons. These crime fighting methods cannot be disclosed.
They can't disclose their strategies.
No, and this is it. This is the two crime fighting method that the government has been using for the life of the administration. One is SOEs, which, as far as I'm concerned, I've never worked and are not working. And the other one is the one that they can't disclose to us.
They have Zozo as well.
And for 7 years, they have been using them, and the result continuously to be the same. They don't employ them until there's a flare-up of crime somewhere. Then by daylight the next morning, a Zozo is being declared in that location. How can a government be using...
Mr. Finnegan, if I may say this to you.
Crime.
Mr. Finnegan, if I may say this to you, sir, it is unconstitutional for the government of Jamaica to continue using public state of emergency. The only time they're supposed to use public state of emergency unless there is natural disaster. Come on, Mr. Rattigan, help me with this. Natural disaster,
war, and insurrection.
Right, and apparently is there a war going on between Jamaica and anywhere else that we don't know of?
No, and that brings me to my final point. That the government under the leadership of Honorable Andrew Holness has been increasing the numbers within the JDF rapidly. And I asked the question in a discussion yesterday, why are we building this army numerically in this country? Is there a threat of war against Jamaica? Or
let me tell you why they do
Jamaica going up war?
Let me tell you why.
Against Jeffrey?
What I see so far. Are you hearing me?
Clearly.
Yes. Let me tell you why. The government of the day realized that the people of this country, Jamaicans, have a tendency, to sit down and sup a hot cup of chocolate. When the time comes for them to rebel, they will rebel. You all can remember the 1990s gas riot in this country?
Yes. Yes.
The Jamaican people have a tendency of when their back is against the wall, that's the time they rebel. So when you have a government who continue investing in the armed forces in this country and forget about the police, something is wrong somewhere. And the people of this country are going to stand up one of these days and say to them, enough is enough. So what they're doing, they're building an army that when the people decide to take to the streets, the army come down on them. Mr. Rattigan, you have something to say, sir? Your mic is off.
Yeah.
On the matter of this crime, Jeffrey, if okay.
We'll have a couple of minutes leave Mr. Finnegan on route. So you can call back if you want on my number or something.
All right.
Thank you for calling, Mr. Finnegan. Mr. Rattigan?
No, it's like you said, the only time you can have a state of emergency under the Constitution is war, insurrection, or natural disaster. And certainly normal crime fighting does not fit into any one of those categories. So, and you know, it's so, but again, they do this in the middle of the day. They do this in daylight, and people don't question what they're doing. And people don't, and when they don't do it enough. They do it once, and then that's the end of that. They're just gonna have to, you know, there's only so much we can do, and then people will have to start standing up and taking a stand. When I said standing up and taking a stand, I mean just stand up and let your voice be heard. It's not enough to just sit at home comfortably and just discuss these issues and then you move on to something else, because these things, they affect all Jamaicans. And the idea about the JCF being the first and the last line of defense, that's nonsense. The JDF, in fact, I can read you something from the Jamaica Defense Forces. I think it's their website. From JIS. It says that the Jamaica Defense Force, as Jamaica's military body, is the country's last line of defense. That's what they say right here. It's right here on the JIS website. It says the JDF is the country's last line of defense. So when the Prime Minister said the JCF is the first and the last, he's wrong about the last. Now let's go to the first. The first, he's also wrong, because if you look at the maritime space, the police can only patrol out to, I forgot, was it 5 miles, 20 miles offshore? And then beyond that, it's the military. So the military would be the first line of defense, people coming in. And then you have to say, you look at the word defense. Defense against what? Because you don't use the word defense when you use it again, when they say police. You don't say the police are defending. No, because the police are not supposed to defend. The police are supposed to provide safety, security, and reassurance. Right. So you use defense as when somebody is like when a foreign nation is attacking you, and then you try to do, but you don't use that word when you talk about police, because if the police is put in a defensive posture, it means they failed. When the military is put in a defensive posture, it's different training, different mission, different personnel, different equipment, different everything, right? So he has to be careful about his choice of words. And for somebody who's as bright as he is, as astute as he is, as worldly as he is, as traveled as he is, all of those things, you would think that in speaking to an issue of this importance, that he would be very careful in choosing his words. And if he didn't, then you would think that he would have read the speech, or maybe it was just something he made up while on the stage. I don't know if he had a prepared speech. I saw him with papers, but then he wasn't looking at it. So I don't know if he memorized it or he discarded it.
I think what he does sometimes, you know, I think he, like Donald Trump, he goes off script.
Maybe he did, or maybe he just have like a bullet point and then he just elaborates on a bullet point. I don't know, but it certainly wasn't his finest moment. You know, a question I thought about since I saw this video Sunday night. I said, I'd love to ask the Prime Minister lots of questions. One of them I'd like to ask him is this: Mr. Prime Minister, tell me about the best speech you've ever delivered. What's that speech? Where can I find that speech? I'd love for him to tell me that. That's a question I'm just dying to ask him.
Hold on for me, Mr. Rattigan. It is now time for us to say goodbye to Roots 96.1 FM, I presume. We didn't take a commercial break, so I have to give it back to them. This is where I say so long from Roots 96.1 FM. But if you want to continue with us, you can continue on the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. We're live on it same way. We're speaking to Wilfred Rattigan, retired FBI agent attorney at law. We're speaking about what happened to the Donna-lee Donaldson's case and also the Jamaica Constable Force Expo 2023. Where is this country going when it comes on to crime? Is Jamaica a failed state? Is Jamaica knocking behind Haiti's back door? This is where I say so long to Roots 96.1 FM. Until you hear my voice again on Roots, I'm Jeffrey Tavares, returning to the studios of Roots 96.1 FM. Thanks to my producer, Owen Brown and Donna-lee Thompson. Miss Isis, over to you. Mr. Rattigan, we continue over here.
Mm-hmm.
Let us... You said you want to ask the Prime Minister a question. What keep him up at nights?
Yeah, nothing to keep him up at night. Get a good night's sleep. You better than me.
True.
They ask them that. Ask them that question. What keeps you up at night? And then you know, make your judgment based on the response. But they're not very careful with words, and words have meanings, and meanings those words and meanings contribute to person's emotions and feelings and perception. And the idea that he's going to come out and just willy-nilly use words like this nonsense. I mean, the speech, I listened to the speech almost in its entirety, and it was terrible. And that's what prompted me to say, hey, you know, if I get a chance to ask him a question, I'll ask him, tell me about the best speech you've ever delivered. Where and when was it? And what was the topic?
As far as I'm concerned, I am not going to profess that I know the goodly gentleman well, but I've heard the Prime Minister give speeches even when he was opposition leader and when he was Minister of Education. And I must say the Prime Minister doesn't give a flowing speech well, you know. He's not a charismatic person in a sense, like a Michael Manley or a Barack Obama or a Portia Simpson Miller, you know. I think our Prime Minister is lack of charisma, if I should say, if there's such a word. But based on what is going on now, Mr. Rattigan, you have the western part of Jamaica. Now you have Zozo has been imposed on Hanover and Clarendon and St. James, 3 parishes. The government has imposed a state of public emergency in the parishes of Hanover, St. James, and Clarendon. Do you believe, Mr. Rattigan, that these imposed of Zozos will help stem the crime problem in our country? Do you believe that if they had factories to give these young people work, do you believe that they'll have so much scamming going on in the country?
At this point, it's a difficult question to answer because the train has left the station. So it's kind of hard to kind of like in retrospect say if we have to actually deal with no and the future. And where we are right now, I don't see any prospects for success as far as employment is concerned, or at least employment on a livable salary. I don't see how that's going to happen, because we have decided now to basically stop producing our own food because importation is way on the rise. And the industries that we're looking at to help us, there are 2 industries. One is tourism and the other is the diaspora. That's an industry in and of itself. And go ahead, please.
No, I was just going to say that we need to have a topic on the issue of tourism, because if Jamaica is going to depend on tourism for the rest of its natural life, they think tourism not continue. Let's continue and nothing going to happen to tourism. What is our backup plan for tourism? Those are the things we must ask ourselves.
We have no backup plan for tourism. The backup plan is more tourism. That's what it is. Because they don't have a backup plan for tourism. And if tourism fails, then Jamaica is in deep, deep trouble. Especially if it's followed by a reduction in remittances and investments. They're going to have some serious problems. They're having serious problems right now. And then also this farce that they tell you that tourism is bringing in all these dollars and how many tourists they're coming to Jamaica. As I said earlier, a lot of these people are stopovers. They're on a cruise ship, and the cruise ship stop for, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, or even overnight. And then they move on. A lot of the money is not spent in Jamaica or is not kept in Jamaica. Not spent, not kept. Because when you buy a ticket when you buy a ticket from anywhere outside of Jamaica to go to a resort, that money doesn't necessarily go to Jamaica. And a lot of those resorts, they're owned by people who do their banking outside of Jamaica. So the money never really gets there, except for the menial workers.
And it was this same party under the late Edward Seaga in the 1980s that allow the tourism industry or allow hoteliers to book hotels outside of Jamaica. In other words, Jamaica don't get any booking within its own territory. So it continue all along where hotels will come into Jamaica, pay Jamaicans little or nothing, and all the money gone way back.
Sometimes
another party sign lease with the Chinese them for come in and invest, and they're tax free. Meanwhile, me and you and Brown's Media Group and graphics design, if we do anything like we have to pay taxes, they tax them, and the tax they tax them. So this is what is going on in our country. These leaders make decisions for us, not to help us, but to help themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's just clear. The question is, I mean, look, there is no shortage of issues, right? The issues are there. What there's a shortage of is action, is what do we do? Because we talk about these issues, we ventilate them, we analyze them, we dissect them, we do everything with these issues to the point where most people who listen to us, they'll understand. But the question is, what do we do? What's the next move? Because we know that the people in power, the politicians, they love the status quo. Things are fine and rosy the way they are. And for most people in Jamaica, things aren't. So what do we do? I think that's the critical question. Not what are the issues, because we know what the issues are. I mean, you can look at health, education, look at law enforcement, national security, the labor, foreign affairs. Look at just any ministry, and you're going to find issues there. And then you can look at the office of the prime minister, and you're going to find a whole bunch of issues. Yes, some of the issues you have to dissect them and feed them to people in small bits, because the language that they use is such that a lot of people just won't understand. So you can take that language and you can break it down to the point where everyone will understand. The question after that is, what do we do? What do we do? And that's where I think we should have a symposium. We should have a symposium on what do we do with the issues we have identified. And that's where, because the Jamaican government has no interest in doing anything. They want things to stay right where they are, right? They talk a good game, but they don't take the necessary action to perform. And we, as consumers of this garbage that we're hearing, and we as the enablers, so to speak, because we keep voting them in, we have enabled them to take advantage of us. And like I've always said, you teach people how to treat you. If you want respect, you teach somebody that I will get the respect. What's this? Yeah, we teach people how to treat us. So if you want respect and love, you act in a way that people will give it to you, you know. And if you act in a way where you want people to disrespect you, people will disrespect you. So we now have to decide, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Are we going to do demonstrations? And by the way, I've said it on this program and many programs, that if you're going to, there's nothing wrong with protesting. There's something called a Public Order Act, I think. Again, Public Order Act in Jamaica, which says that if you're going to demonstrate, you must get a permit, right? And I've said to people, get your permit. And some people say, well, we know we're not going to get it. And I said, how you know? Did you apply? No, but we just know we're not going to get it. No, apply first, right? Then we can, it's a different discussion if you apply and you don't get it, right? But the fact that you don't apply, you can't use that argument that I didn't apply because I know I wasn't going to get it. That's not a good argument. So I've always said to people, apply and demonstrate lawfully and peacefully, right? Now, I read in the newspaper today where they're saying that they've identified some people out in Portland, I think, who had an illegal demonstration on block roads or whatever, St. Thomas or Portland. And now they said they have videotapes of these people and they're going to arrest them, right? But so going back to the question of what are we going to do? Are we going to demonstrate? Are we going to vote? Are we going to bring lawsuits? Are we going to petition donor agencies and donor countries like the US, Canada, the UK? Are we going to petition like the organizations like the Organization of American States, the UN, IMF, World Bank, IDB? Are we that's where we have to sit down and come up with a plan and say, okay, this is what we are going to do, because the talking time over already. No, I'm just one person and I've taken a step, and I think it's a necessary step. People say it's bold and it's courageous. I don't think so. I think it's a necessary step. It's something that somebody had to do, and I'm just one person. Other people, well, I know Wayne Lonesome did one, and there are other people planning to do the same thing as well. But we have to start taking a stand. By the way, let me just repeat, and this is the first time that I'll break this news. An avid listener called me yesterday and said, "Listen, you need to give updates, regular updates on where we are with the foundation, because people keep asking when can I send my money? Spend the money?" And I've been saying that that I was waiting on the professor to finish his classes, and then we would start working on it. Last week, I met with him and we spent about 3 hours going over the details of it. I am pleased to say that this morning he sent me a draft. So I have a draft of the Articles of Incorporation and the application. So that's this. What's the point in applying for permit to protest when protests never solve issues? Okay, let me answer that question. Who's that? Lynn Livingston. All right, Lynn.
Answer the question. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Eh?
Answer the question. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Yeah, Lynn, look at it like this. All right. You don't protest. You know for sure nothing is going to happen. You do protest. There's always a likelihood that something is going to happen, depending on the numbers, because there's such a thing as international press. And the Jamaican government, any third world government, is afraid of the international press, bad press. They want good press, not bad press. And so let's say you had an island-wide protest and people turn out in numbers, strong numbers, that will get the attention of a CNN, MSNBC, BBC, and so on and so forth, Fox, so on and so forth. That will cause pressure on the Jamaican government, because their benefactors are looking, and their benefactors and their investors are saying, look, this is not something that we can countenance. So we're going to have to make some changes. So the way I look at it is this: there is a law. There's an avenue for you to protest. There's an avenue for you to express your dissatisfaction with the path the government is taking. And I'm a firm believer in following the law And then if nothing happens, there are other things you can do too. Let's say you don't get the permit. Let's say that they don't give you the permit, so you can't protest. Then you'll have to go to court and bring the matter in court. But what you need to do is you must have a PR campaign. You must have a PR campaign, and not just local, but an international PR campaign. And it can be done because in this age of social media, news fly around the world in a second, right? It's not like 40 years ago, 30 years ago, where something happened in Jamaica and it take a while before anybody outside even hear about it. So,
like how we're planning a campaign that the Jamaican people can't access their beaches,
right?
Because the people of the Avalanche Society, the people of the Upper Cherry Gardens and the Vumvavin, been selling out the beaches to their friends and cronies. So we don't have access to the beach. So, a campaign must be led that people are coming into Jamaica. And people may say, boy, Jeffrey and Mr. Rattigan to mash up Jamaica tourism industry. No. If we can't access the beach that we born and grow can see, and other people access it make any sense?
No, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. And that's why I said to Mr. Livingston that, there's a protest and nothing not gonna happen. I believe that, if you don't try, then certainly nothing is going to happen. But you have to try, because I tell you this, if the government should wake up one morning and they see 100,000 people, no, 50,000 people protesting in Jamaica, big news. Big news. And if the people protest and they continue to do the protest, right? They can't stop you. I mean, what they'll probably do after the first permit is probably say, well, they have to cut down on the numbers. But if you do an island-wide project, right, in terms of applying island-wide, and then you do an island-wide protest, right? So you don't have 100,000 people in one place, because then you have crowd control issues. Where you do it island-wide, the amount of press that you would get. And this is not, because then the first thing is this. You start doing something like that, it's going to affect one of the prized industries. We don't have tourism. And when people say, and especially if you combine the crime issues along with the beach issue, and you say, we don't like the idea that tourists come here and can use our birthright, and we can't use it. We don't have access to it. And you combine the crime issue with that issue, and that take hold in the international press. Believe me, Mr. Livingston, things definitely would change. So I see where you're coming from, but I hope you understand my point. That you have to start someplace. You can't sit back and say, well, it don't make no sense to protest because nothing will happen. No, you have to start. Hey, Mr. Livingston, I tell you what, when I file a lawsuit, people are telling me, hey, no file no lawsuit because nothing gonna happen. Them I'm gonna throw it out. I'm gonna throw it out. But you see the result. People start talking. And people start realizing that, hey, we don't have to wait 5 years to hold the government accountable. We can hold them accountable every day of the week when the court open. If them don't do what they're supposed to do, you can go to court. And then you start get international press, right? And then it becomes an embarrassment for that minister. It becomes an embarrassment for the government. It becomes an embarrassment for the prime minister. So he has to do something, because now I'm hearing that they're planning to move the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith from her prized assignment. This is an assignment.
Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Yeah, I'm moving her someplace else. And I'm not taking credit for it. What I would like the people to take credit for it, to say, well, you know what? Because we start talking and we start sending things on social media and whatnot, Prime Minister realized, hey, I've got a problem here. I can't keep her here because she won't be able to concentrate on her international focus, international focus on her job. She won't be able to do that because this brother Rattigan Avar, from pillar to post with tax administrator, with Ministry of Finance and Public Service, with Integrity Commission, and with lawsuit, and now we hear him a plan for go sue her for defamation in America, and we are here say him go sue her for $2 million, and if she not show up, him will get a default judgment, and also our visa issues too, all of them things there. So You see what I mean? It started as one small issue, one small thing that somebody decided and say, you know what? I'm going to do something about this. And believe me, people, there are lots of, not small, big things out there that we can file in court about. Stay tuned. Some of them coming up real soon.
Wilfred Rattigan, I'm going to let you go anytime soon unless you want to continue some more. At 3 o'clock our time and 2 o'clock Jamaica time, we go live to the Parliament of Jamaica.
Who's speaking to them?
Where opposition spokesperson on foreign affairs and foreign trade, Lady Lisa Hanna, will be giving her presentation to the Parliament. And yes, and join us on Wednesday at 6 o'clock for the Road to Republic Town Hall meeting. It will be live from the St. Mary's Anglican Church in Mandeville, I think. We will be bringing that to you live also. You know, Wilfred Rattigan, sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you something. Sometimes I get up and I say, no, that's true. I am not going to come on my program and talk. Because it can be very much depressing at times. I don't know about you or Wayne or anybody else. But for me, it can be very depressing. And sometimes I don't want to come on and say nothing. And then, you know, I'll have my friends call me and say, Jeff, no. You and everybody else doing a good job. You need to go on it some more. But when you listen to the problems that we face in our country, the crime, you know, the lack of job, the scamming, the government don't give a flying kahuna, health sector going down to the dogs, cockroach checking over KPH and all kind of crap. You sit down and you said, you know what? Our country is 60-something years old. What has these two political parties do for Jamaica? What has they done to alleviate the problem that our people face? And I keep on saying, if a country or a government cannot provide for its people in the sense of security, jobs, health, work, and there's a fifth one, I can't remember the fifth one, then there's something fundamental wrong with the government of the country.
Let me say something to you. What I think you should do, and I'll mention it to Wayne and others as well. What I think you should do, my program is not set up for something like that, but you can actually, I mean, you have access to set up a program anytime. What I would suggest you do is, why don't you do a town hall and just name it Solutions? And like you said, you don't come on and you tell people, you advertise it like maybe a week in advance and say, listen, I want to hear from you, the listeners, because we know what issues are, but we don't have a monopoly on solutions. We think we know some things that might or might not work, but we need to hear from you, especially the people in Jamaica. What do you think are the solutions? Come up with solutions to your problems and make us see if we can vet them and if we can then discuss them, and then we can start presenting them we can present them in a wider audience to the government. But because the government doesn't have all the solutions, they have some solutions. I have to give them credit. They have some ideas about some solutions, but the fact is that they're very arrogant people, and they feel as if they know it all. They're also ignorant. You know, they don't know it all, but they could do a lot by just listening to people. And that's why a town hall meeting is so important, which they're not doing in Jamaica. And instead of getting up there and saying, well, we've done this, we've done that, or saying, well, the problem is this, and that, I would suggest that you have something just called Solutions for Jamaica and tell people, I need you to call in. You can do an opening, but then you tell people, I need you to call in or write in the chat room so we can vet some of these solutions. Because, like, for example, like Mr. Livingston, who just came up with a solution, and his solution was don't protest, because protest is not going to solve anything, right? Mm-hmm. No, that I've heard that view before. And I'm not saying it's wrong. All I'm saying is that if you think about it, if you don't do anything, what do you think will get done if you don't do anything? If you have an issue and you don't if somebody step on your toe and if somebody stand up on your toe and you don't say something, they must stand up the same way. Sometimes they don't even know better. Sometimes some people are trying to pick a fight, but sometimes they don't even know better. And unless you say, oh, Virgin, you're the permit, oh, sorry, we never know, you know. So you have to speak out. So, but again, Mr. Livingston deserve to be heard.
Yes.
So we want people like Mr. Livingston to come out and put it up there and make we have a discussion. And Mr. Livingston might agree with us, or he might disagree, or we might agree with him at the end of the day and say, you know, Mr. Livingston, you're right. But at least we need to vet first of all, we need people to come up with these solutions, and then we need to vet these solutions.
Good idea, and I think I'm going to do that. I need to get a piece of equipment to take calls, and I'm in the process of getting it. I hope they ship it to me early.
Oh,
so
I thought you were going somewhere else when you say I need a piece of equipment. That's no, never mind.
Wilfred Rattigan, we're not going to signal the plane today. You know?
No. we have people responsible for doing that.
You know, we're trying to get some people to come on to speak some more about what is going on in our country, and as what Mr. Rattigan said, the solution. Ratty, I know you have to go, so what I'm going to do, let us wrap up here.
Yeah.
You saying?
Yeah. This idea about I'm interested to learn a bit more about the constitution reform, what's going on.
Yes.
And also, you know, I'm glad we didn't spend too much time on the Prime Minister's speech, because there were other in fact there were other speeches there given as well. We had the
Commissioner of Police and the Minister of National Security.
Yeah, they gave some speeches. And we could do without all of those speeches, because those speeches didn't help to address the crime issue one bit in Jamaica. So I'm glad we didn't spend too much time on debunking those speeches. Now, we are not, and I say this because I know Jeffrey Tavares, not a biased person. I'm not a biased person. I left Jamaica before I could even vote. All I want is just to see the Jamaican people taken care of. That's all. That's my motive. Just see the Jamaica. I don't want a position in Jamaica. I don't want any power in Jamaica. All I want is for the government to take care of its citizens, right? And then you'll still hear from me, but you'll hear me congratulating them. You'll hear me trumpeting their successes, saying yes, the government is doing great. But when the government is not doing great, you shouldn't expect me to just sit back and not say anything, because too many of us for far too long have done exactly that. And look at where we are. Look at where we are. It's getting worse. As Burning Spear would have said, getting from bad to worse. And that's where we are. Yeah. In fact, we're worse right now. It's gone from bad to worse, not getting, to worse. So, no, but thank you for having me on. I'm glad you mentioned that to me, because I'm going to tune in to hear what the opposition spokesperson has to say about
yes,
the foreign ministry. So whenever you need me, I'm here, my brother.
Thank you very much. If anything, maybe we can come back on tonight and accept what Miss Hannah said. I don't know. It all depends on you.
All right, no problem.
Busy.
All right.
Yes.
I'm getting a call from South Africa. I have to run now. Take care.
Okay. Thanks very much. Thank you. We're just speaking to Wilfred Rattigan, retired FBI agent, my good friend, my brother. We're speaking about what's going on with the Donna-lee Donaldson's case, and also the JCF Expo 2023. This is where I say so long until you join us at 3 o'clock this evening. That's 2 o'clock Jamaica time, when we come to you live from the Parliament of Jamaica, where Lisa Hannah will be giving her presentation to the budget debate. Ladies and gentlemen, my viewers and my listeners, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. We're going to have the town hall meeting for solutions. I know my good friend Wayne Lonesome has his own town hall meeting pertaining to what is going on. We're going to have one for solutions. And we need to sit down in this country of ours and ask ourselves the question, When we're voting, what are we voting for? That's the question we must ask ourselves. When we are voting, what are we voting for? Are we voting for a political party? Are we voting for proper infrastructure in our country? For the betterment of Jamaica? That's what we must ask ourselves. Time has come, my fellow Jamaicans, that we must rally around a single cause and a single purpose. Stand up for our nation. Jamaica is bleeding from within. May God bless you. And may God bless Jamaica land we love. Thank you all for continue watching the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you all very much. Until then, God bless you. And join us again at 3 when we come to you live from the Parliament of Jamaica. Have a good one, everyone.